Is the new Smashing Pumpkins album Autumn Act 3 better than Act 1 and Act 2? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the Rock Squad channel, and welcome to my rock album review of the Smashing Pumpkins' new album, Autumn Act 3. Before we get to it, guys, if you love to rock out as much as we do here on the Rock Squad channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. Make sure to like this video, appreciate that, and make sure to share this video online with your friends and fellow Smashing Pumpkins fans. Alright, so here we are, Smashing Pumpkins Autumn Act 3. Of course, we got Act 1 back in November. We got Autumn Act 2 all the way back in January. I did reviews for those albums here on the channel. I'll link those up for you if you want to check them out and see what I thought of those first two records. And of course, this 33-song project, this epic project from Billy Corgan, is a follow-up, a thematic and conceptual follow-up to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness and Machina, the Machines of God, his other two epic album projects that he's done in the past. And you know, in those reviews that I talked about, Autumn's Act 1 and Act 2, it's been a mixed bag for me. I started relatively strong for me on Autumn Act 1, but then things just really went downhill for me on Autumn Act 2. I did not find that to be a very enjoyable experience, aside from the single Beguiled, which I think is a really strong single and a really strong Smashing Pumpkins song. But it's been a mixed bag for me overall with this autumn trilogy so far. And it's not because, again, I've said in these past reviews, just a quick thing, it's not because I'm expecting the Smashing Pumpkins to sound like they did back in the Melancholy days and the Siamese Dream days, because obviously I'm very supportive of the band of trying new things and doing new sounds. I've just not been a huge fan of this new kind of synthy electronic sound that Billy Corgan's been doing on this project. He did it on Sear before, which I thought was a stronger effort, but I'm not a huge fan of what he's been doing sound-wise and sonically on these albums. And, you know, like I said, he doesn't have to make every song a big guitar song or make it sound like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness or Siamese Dream or Adore or any of those records. He's just got to make it good. The songs have to be good, and so far the songs haven't been great on Autumn's Act 1 and Act 2, and I'm sorry to say that with Act 3, it doesn't really get any better on this one. Yeah, unfortunately, I found Autumn Act 3 to be a very hard listen to get through. There were a couple of gems here and there and a couple of cool parts throughout this whole thing, but I found this, especially reviewing this Autumn project from Smashing Pumpkins, to be a relatively exhausting process. Reviewing Act 1 was okay, but when we got to Act 2, that was exhausting, and listening to Act 3 was even more exhausting than listening to Act 2. And, like, I love epic albums. I love that Billy Corgan sets out to make these epic, you know, multi-song, multi-album projects, but it just, results may vary depending on how much you love the Smashing Pumpkins. I think for me, it just doesn't live up even to some of the albums that they put out over the last decade. And I mentioned in my my top 10 most underrated Smashing Pumpkins songs videos, there's a lot of great songs they've released over the last decade or so. I'm just not sure a lot of them are going to be on the Autumn project. I think this is definitely the worst of the Zero, Glass, Shiny trilogy. When you listen to an album like Melancholy and even Machina, those are epic albums as well, with a lot of songs on them. But there are differences in styles. There are different kinds of songs. Not everything is a rock song. The amps aren't always turned up to 11, but the songs, even some of the softer stuff, are just a lot stronger and melodically a lot better. And, you know, when it comes to the Autumn trilogy, like, conceptually and thematically, and lyrically, it's strong. Well, lyrically, it's kind of hard to read sometimes. I was reading along to the lyrics of this album, and I was wondering, like, what is Billy Corgan talking about? But conceptually and thematically, this is a strong project. But then, other than the conceptual stuff and the thematic stuff, it's not very strong. I don't think this is this album makes a great use of the other members of the Smashing Pumpkins, like James Iha and Jimmy Chamberlin. We have this reunited lineup, and it really doesn't feel like they're present on these albums. I know that Billy worked on this a lot during the pandemic, so that might explain why they're not really on it. And when you kind of bring it all down into it, you have 33 songs. Of course, I can respect Billy Corgan trying to do something epic, but he really could have condensed this into one stronger album, you know, a 12 or 13 or 14 song album that would have been a lot stronger. And then when you think about the Smashing Pumpkins doing this synth pop electronic stuff, they released Sear back in 2020, and I think that Sear, which is another really long album, the album's got 20 songs on it. It's stronger. It's the same kind of sound as he's doing on Autumn, but I think the songs and the melodies are really strong on Sear. So I think that is the better work. And, you know, it's making me wonder where the Smashing Pumpkins are going to go in the future. They've just finished this 33-song project. They're on the road. They're touring. They're still a very active band. We have the original members back in there. So, but where do they go from here in terms of their sound? Because Billy Corgan has gotten so far down the rabbit hole of doing these synth pop electronic albums that I really don't know where he's going to go from here, and I really don't know where the Smashing Pumpkins are gonna go here from a sonic perspective, a songwriting perspective. It really feels like he's gone down the rabbit hole. So I think that it's kind of a weird spot to be as a Smashing Pumpkins fan. I know a lot of people online are really gushing over this album, but I think maybe you're trying to hear something that I'm not hearing, because this album just doesn't do it for me. But let's get into the songs on this Autumn Act 3, and I'll tell you which ones I liked and which ones I didn't dig so much. So kicking off Autumn Act 3, we have the song Sojourner. It's an epic 7-minute long intro song to this record. It's got a good solo on it. Billy Corgan still does have some really good shred moments on this album, so I enjoyed that. It's a long, epic intro to this album. So if you didn't think that listening to Act 1 and Act 2 was long enough, he makes sure that you're really in for the ride on Act 3, and really the introduction to this album is par for the course for this entire project. Right from the get-go, I was like, oh no, here we go again. But Sojourner was, I guess, a decent intro. That Which Animates the Spirit. This is another guitar-driven song. There are some guitar-driven songs, some really chuggy, great guitar songs on these albums as a whole, but they're few and far between, and the melodies on them aren't really all that great. And that's how I felt with this one. I think every Autumn album has a couple of really strong singles. I don't think any of the rock songs on these albums are as strong as Beguiled. Like, I will keep singing the praises of Beguiled to the high heavens, because I think that's the best track from this entire project. I think that's why it was the first single. But it was nice to get another rocker on That Which Animates the Spirit. We had the Canary Trainer. It was okay. It had a good beat on it. I think Jimmy Chamberlin was doing something interesting on this, but otherwise it was pretty forgettable. Then we get to a song called Pacer, which I think was one of the best songs on the Autumn Act 3, and probably one of the better songs on the entire trilogy, to be honest. It had some good hooks on it. There are occasionally some hooks on these songs. I think otherwise the melodies on these albums, specifically on this one too, are just completely forgettable. Like, these are songs that go in one ear and out the other. I don't really think melodically there's a lot to really latch onto, and there's not a lot of hooks. But Pacer had some good hooks on it. In Lieu of Failure, this one had some good guitars on it. It wasn't a huge rocker, but it was okay. And that's pretty much how I feel about most of the songs on Autumn Act 3 and the overall project as a whole, is that some of these songs are just okay. Then we get to a song on this record called Cenotaph, which was different in terms of the texture. Like, Billy Corgan pulls out the acoustic guitar on this song, which when you're listening to this whole project, he's just like drowning in keyboard sounds and really cheesy, bad keyboard sounds at that. It was really refreshing to hear him pull out an acoustic guitar, which I know he loves to do. It was really cool to hear him do on this record. But the song itself, Cenotaph, was not good. And just reading along with the lyrics of this album, I know it's a concept album. There's a theme going on here. He's not just writing about love songs and this and that. He's trying to accomplish something with the lyrics, but some of these lyrics are just cringe-worthily bad. It's just like, what is he writing about? I just don't understand. And how is he expecting anybody to latch on to what he's doing lyrically with this album? Again, Melancholy and Machina, maybe less on Machina, but Melancholy being a concept album, it had the concept and themes and the lyrics and everything, but it didn't really seem like that. The songs were still accessible for people who weren't following along with this epic story. Then we get to probably the heaviest song on this record, which is called Harmageddon. I like that title. That's a really good title. It has some chuggy guitars. This is probably the chuggiest song that we've gotten after Beguiled. But again, the melody isn't there. I'm not asking the Smashing Pumpkins to make every song Zero or Bullet with Butterfly Wings. All I'm asking for is for them to put some decent hooks on this and really just try to write some good, catchy songs. That I don't really think Billy Corgan's all that interested in writing catchy songs anymore. I think he's just doing his own thing. Then we get to a song called Fireflies, and I was excited after Harmageddon because I thought, okay, here we go. Here's something energetic. Here's something with a little bit more oomph to it. And then he's right back to doing kind of the synth dribble on Fireflies. So that was another really disappointing song on Autumn Act 3. Then we get to a song called Intergalactic. This is a 9-minute long song, and when I heard it, I was just the first thing that came to my head was make it stop. Just make it stop, because I couldn't think about listening to this album anymore. The only thing that redeemed this song was they actually let Jimmy Chamberlin be Jimmy Chamberlin on this song. He had a really cool drum solo in the middle. There was some cool guitar stuff in there as well, but they actually let him do what he does, which he's one of the best drummers in the world. You have Jimmy Chamberlin in the band, and then you're making every song sound like the beats were recorded, on GarageBand. So I don't understand why they're not using him to full effect. But on this song, they finally used Jimmy Chamberlin. It's too long, don't get me wrong. It doesn't justify a 9-minute long runtime, but it did remind me of Jimmy Chamberlin's best work. It reminds me of some of the stuff that he's done in the past. Geek USA, Silverfuck, the song United States from the Zeitgeist record. When they really let Jimmy Chamberlin loose, it sounds incredible. And then we get to the song called Spellbinding, which is one of the best songs on Autumn Act 3. I think this was one of the first singles released from Autumn Act 3, if not the only single other than Beguiled to be released from this entire project. But I was like, where was this song earlier in the track list? Why aren't more songs like this? I think it was generally a pretty strong song for the Smashing Pumpkins that had the best chorus of the bunch. I felt like it was the catchiest and the one that really made my ears perk up. So I really enjoyed Spellbinding. And then the album finishes with the song called Of Wings. That's right. After 33 songs, 3 acts, 3 albums of listening to this, Autumn mercifully came to an end with Of Wings. Had a little bit of a piano vibe on it, which again, Billy Corgan doesn't pull out all that often anymore. He's just playing with his Casio keyboard or whatever. But on this piano-driven song, kind of reminded me of like For Martha from the Adore album, which I thought was really cool. But otherwise, it was a super forgettable closer, and really, I was just glad for it to be over. I started strong with Act 1. I thought that was pretty good. Act 2, it really lost me. And then Act 3 was just a real chore to get through. And those are the songs on Autumn Act 3. I really, really want to like this a lot more than I do. But like I said, unlike their previous concept albums like Melancholy and Machina, the songs, the melodies, the memorable hooks are just not there on this Autumn trilogy. When you have 33 songs that are all relatively trying to do the same thing and are occupying the same sonic space, it's just not interesting. It's just not grabbing me as a listener. And I'm thinking, like, the whole time I'm listening to Autumn, I'm thinking, is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with Nick that I'm not realizing when it comes to Smashing Pumpkins? Is there something that I'm missing? And I saw on social media that a lot of people are thinking this is their best work. Like, am I missing something? Is there something wrong with me? I don't think so. I just think that the Smashing Pumpkins really aren't putting out, or Billy Corgan in particular, isn't really putting out the hooks that we want them to. I'm a melody guy. So if your melody isn't grabbing me, then I'm lost, and that's how I felt on Autumn Act 3. It doesn't have to rock all the time. It just has to be well written. And every time a song would start with the cheesy synths, I would just my eyes would roll. I would get really instantly tired. This album makes me very tired, just very sleepy. So I feel like having a nap after listening to this. There are some good moments on the overall project, but not enough for 3 albums, for 33 songs of this. It was just a little bit too much, and they really could have just condensed this into one record, and I think it would have been far more enjoyable. And the crazy thing is that the band is putting out a bonus disc. Like, if you pick up Autumn, the entire project is out this weekend. Like, yesterday came out Friday, May the 5th. But if you're buying Autumn, it comes out, like, you can buy all 3 parts together on CD and vinyl. There's a huge vinyl box set that they're putting out, which actually does look really cool. Like, it looks like very well made and very well done. There's an additional 10 songs that come on a bonus disc on the vinyl edition. I think it's only on vinyl right now. I think they're going to be putting it out on, maybe some other formats like streaming a couple months down the line. But there are an additional 10 songs on this that they put out, and that just flabbergasts me. That's really, really hard to think that they could put out an additional 10. From what I've heard, this is actually the Shiny and Oh So Bright Volume 2 album that they didn't put out, and I guess we'll do a review of that whenever I get a chance to hear those bonus tracks, whenever they make their way online, because I'm definitely not spending the money for the vinyl version of Autumn, because I don't even like this album. I will probably pick up the CD just to be a completist, but I don't even think I could pick up this album on vinyl. It's definitely not worth the money for me. Yeah, I'm not going to be picking that up. So when you think about it, 2 hours and 18 minutes. So this whole project of the Smashing Pumpkins Autumn is for serious Pumpkin fans only. Serious Pumpkin fans only should apply for listening to Autumn, the entire project, because even for me, like a diehard, there's very little here to enjoy on the entire project. Like, how many of these songs, after listening to this album, not a lot of songs are sticking in my head, and that's really a problem when you're listening to any rock album. When I'm doing any rock album reviews, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear songs that I'm going to remember. I want to hear songs that I'm going to want to listen to again, and there's just there's just not a lot on here. To listen to all 3 albums is exhausting. So Beguiled, for me, for my money, after listening to 33 songs, Beguiled is still the track for me, and the one that I'm going to pull away from all 33 songs on this Autumn project. It just doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to give Autumn Act 3 a 2 out of 5, and I guess I will give the entire Autumn project, just to be kind, a 3 out of 5. All right, guys, that is it. That is my rock album review for Smashing Pumpkins Autumn Act 3. It's over. The trilogy is over. I don't know where the Smashing Pumpkins go from here as a band and what they do sonically. I really hope it's more interesting than what we heard on the Autumn project. But let me know what you thought of Autumn Act 3 and the project as a whole down in the comments below. Let me know whether you're a casual fan, a new fan, an old fan of the Smashing Pumpkins. Let me know what you thought, and let's chat about the album in the comments. Make sure to like this video. Appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe to us here on the Rock Squad channel. We talk about everything rock and roll here on the channel, so if you love to rock out as much as we do, subscribe, share this video online with your friends and your fellow rock fans and Smashing Pumpkins fans. Make sure to follow us on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Rock Squad Pod. And if you want to check out my band as well, if you're a fan of Foo Fighters, Oasis, Weezer, Pumpkins, you'll like us as well. My band's called Fools Union. You can check us out at foolsunion.com. But we'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.